A censure motion in this parliament is the most serious motion that can be moved. Both of those people most concerned with this will have a chance to speak, and I'm sure put interests that are represented by people in the gallery, give them that courtesy. Otherwise, the attendants will be asked to clear the galleries. The Honourable
I might say in the 20 years that I've been in Parliament, that is the first time I've ever heard a speaker make that threat. The first time I've heard that threat be made.
Order.
And you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Order.
You should be ashamed of yourself for orchestrating that.
Order. Now, Leader of the Opposition, just calm down. Nothing has been orchestrated. I've heard your comment just there. It's not a threat. I am simply suggesting to those in the gallery, we want to hear, in this place, there is no threat. That is the standing orders of this parliament, which those in this place constantly remind me to uphold. The Leader of the Opposition on the censure motion. The Leader of the Opposition has the call.
Mr. Speaker, this is the first sitting of the Parliament in this year, and that this Parliament sits at a time when the mood of the Australian people can best be summarised as a mood of total uncertainty and total bewilderment, verging on anger and frustration. And today we have been treated from the Prime Minister with a prime example of why that mood exists in the Australian community. If ever a man has demonstrated before the National Forum of the Australian people that he is arrogantly out of touch with how the Australians feel, it is the Prime Minister today. He has strutted this stage. He has behaved as though he presides like a triumphal, successful emperor over the greatest economy that the world has ever seen. And yet the reality, Mr. Speaker, is absolutely otherwise. And this kind of insufferable, conceited, arrogant, out-of-touch attitude on the Prime Minister's part is not confined, of course, to the Prime Minister. It runs right like a river of deceit right through the whole of the government. Now let me give you an example, and I want everybody opposite and those in the gallery to listen to this, and it gives you an idea of the problem not only that this government has got, that this man, Paul J. Keating, has got, but also the enormous problem that the Australian people have got. And the other day, this is what the Treasurer said, and I quote, "The basic economy is in terrific shape." And he went on to say, except this external side, which is obviously not so flash, and we need to address this, end of quote. And one of the more whimsical erudite of the parliamentary press gallery had this to say this morning, and I quote, "That's like saying the Titanic was in terrific shape, not counting the iceberg." And Mr. Speaker, that is the problem. I mean, the greatest worry is that this man is so invincibly ignorant of the problem that this country has. And what the Australian public really cannot understand is that after enduring 3 to 4 years of the worst recession in 60 years, the worst recession in 60 years, I mean, the Prime Minister is very fond of quoting history. Well, let me just say one thing to him about that. You can rabbit on as much as you like about the past. The more you talk about the past, the more you proclaim your embarrassment about the present and that you have nothing to say about the future. So you can go on, you can rabbit on, you can talk about 1981, you can talk about John Howard and Malcolm Fraser, you can talk about Sir Henry Parkes and the Prophet Moses, but nothing will relieve you of the responsibility you carry for what you are doing to Australian families at the present time. Now let me just remind you while we're talking history, and then we'll get to the future, which is what the Australian public want to hear from John Howard and Paul Keating about over the next 12 months. Just let's remind us, who gave us the worst recession in 60 years? Paul Keating. Who gave us the highest unemployment since the Great Depression? Paul Keating. Who gave us the highest current account deficit on record? Paul Keating. Who gave us the highest level of foreign debt since the Great Depression? Paul Keating. Who gave us the highest... Oh, it's all right for him to do it, but it's not all right for me. It's all right for him, but not all right for me.
For those... Order. Those in this place who constantly lecture me on the standing orders, think about it. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
And if I may continue, Mr. Speaker...
And the Prime Minister will have his chance.
Who gave us the highest sustained levels of interest rates since the Great Depression? Paul Keating. And finally, who gave us record levels of bankruptcies and small failures? None other than the same Paul Keating. Now, Mr. Speaker, we have opened this political year with the news that Australia has the worst current account deficit on record.